No echo. Everything sounds good.
Nah, you sound great. We're joined by Telle
Oh,
Smith from The Word Alive, who's 2 hours late because he slept in and then lied and said it was snowing.
oh no, I did not lie. Actually,
Fucking
I
prove
swear to
it.
God.
Point that camera out the window.
You see all the snow? It's
Fuck
not
off,
snow. It's
jackass.
not snowy here. I'll send you a video of what our drive was
How
last
intense
night. It
was it?
was uh I mean, I'm from Ohio and grew up in snow, but it's just different when it's van and trailer, and your entire livelihood is at stake. So you have to like be really careful. There's a ton of black ice. So we just went the slowest of all time. I didn't go to bed until 8:30 something this morning, and then we get to the venue to load in at 11 something, and I'm like a zombie. So we were late, got loaded in, and so yeah, I didn't sleep in. I just didn't sleep at all, really.
You're fucking insane. Is this because you played a casino last night? What shit did you get up to?
No, no. I wish it was for fun extracurriculars, but no. It's actually a lot sadder. I have like major PTSD from us almost flipping years ago, so
Oh,
like I can't. It If I'm not driving, I can't sleep anyways. Because I'm like every time the wind pulls you a little off the road or anything happens, I'm like, oh shit, like are we wrecking? And so it's a side of touring that like doesn't get talked about a lot, but um
but
I
it only
yeah,
gets brought up when it's like because like a tragic reason, like something happened.
yeah,
Otherwise, you never hear about it.
yeah. Every band has probably had like like maybe minor wrecks or scares or like situations where you're like, holy shit. Like we were in Nashville, Tennessee one year, and it doesn't snow that often in Nashville, so they don't have salt trucks. Well, like a blizzard came in while we were playing at Rocketown, which used to exist there. I don't even know if it still does, but um, so I had to go into town though because we had to deposit money into our bank so that we could pay like probably our merch bill or I don't know
Oh
something that
God!
like
Wait, shut the
had to
fuck up.
get paid.
Why would they send you? It's you're the golden boy. Aren't there
Well,
five other guys who could get sent into town?
yeah, but they're none of them had like ever driven in the snow. I back in the day, I did every single one of our night drives. I did every single drive in the snow, every single drive in like bad rain. Like I still
Is
to this
that
day, if there's a trailer issue, they'll like I have to get woken up and they're like, "All right, Telly, we need you to get us out of this." Like I'm the only one that has consistently put forth an effort to be really good at driving a van and trailer or
well,
whatnot.
you really
So
fucked up because you added like two new members to the band. You should have got one other guy from Ohio.
you know, you know what? Yeah. If we ever add a bass player back into the band, part of the resume is how I need a video of you doing like an obstacle course with a van and trailer.
Exactly.
Like
Like get from here to
that's
Walmart
it.
without sliding off the road.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how are
Uh,
you guys doing?
good, good.
It's been
Real
a
quick,
minute.
before we go any further, so you guys have two new singles out, Nocturnal Future, New Reality.
Yeah,
They've dropped within the last few months. We're
yeah,
talking about tour. Specifically, you're out right now on the Skeletons tour with Pop Evil, alongside of Void. You
yeah,
literally just played your first night. Does that sound right?
yeah, yeah. First show last night.
We're good. The weather here is great, honestly. I woke up and walked upstairs, so my life is pretty good. I did out of curiosity. You were talking about how you can't sleep. You're saying, right? What do you do to
Yeah.
distract yourself for fucking 8 hours when you're having, whatever PTSD experience?
So like last night, for instance, was like I was so tired. Like after the show ended, we go hang out at merch, we unload. We knew that we had like a super early lobby call. We weren't gonna leave right away because there was a storm coming in. Avoid chose to leave first and they had to stop. They had to pull over because it was too bad. And they're like, we have to wait until like the snowplows can come. We can't go any further because I don't know if you guys knew where we played. So we played a city called Sault Ste. Marie in Michigan, which
Mhm.
is like two steps away from Canada. It's like the most northern part of Michigan possible. And to get out of there, it's like 2-lane roads at certain parts where it's like there's no snowplow coming until daylight. It's like very, it's like you're in a tunnel in between forests, and it's like there's nothing for miles and miles. So like we were like, okay, we don't want to risk it. Let's just wait a little bit. We left in the middle of the night rather than like right away. And
Do you guys
so
did you
I
have
was
like a room
exhausted,
out of
but
curiosity? Just because you played a
yeah,
casino. Is it so it's a little
we played a
different, right?
casino. They gave us each our own hotel rooms, which was really
That's
cool. The
cool.
the hospitality at this casino was like next level. The show was all seated, which we'd never played before, and I never hope to ever again.
So
But everyone
really?
was hyped though. Yeah, it's like it's just what they know though. You know, it's like it's the only venue. Like for the promoter was telling us 40 to 60% of the people who come, they come down from Canada, but they live in like that weird middle part of Canada where they have to drive far for almost any show they ever go to. This casino is the only place that's under probably 4 to 8 hours that they could possibly see a show at. So it's like all they know. It was also, I guarantee you, the highest average age of fan we have ever played to in our entire career. Like,
Is that because that's like Pop Evil's demographic? Because I know they're like kind of more in the hard rock space than they are like the scene space.
it's definitely a mix, I'd say, of like, they came up in the active rock world, and I think obviously you see, them having like a feature from like Ryan is like this new record, they wanted to breathe new life into the band, and they had a new member, Joey, who's kind of like bringing that newer edge to their band with what they can do live, and I think that you see that and hear that with their new record. It just dropped yesterday, I think. um
Yeah. It's called
and
Skeletons. It's out now,
yep.
streaming anywhere.
And honestly, like they fuck live. I don't know if I can say fuck, but
Oh, you can say
it's
no. Actually, there's no
okay. Okay.
cursing on the show. Funny
Okay.
enough.
Yeah. Frick.
Yeah, thank you.
They,
Much better.
yeah, dude, they kill it live. The new songs, it's like if that band had started and came out today just as is, I think it would be like a straight shot to like them being successful. Like the songs connect. You can see that people love them, maybe even more than like the bangers that they've had for years and years and years with active rock. But because of that fan base of active rock, and they've been a band for like 20 years, they,
So, out of curiosity, what was the reception for you guys? 1,500 seated Pop Evil fans. How did that go over?
honestly, we drew a lot more than I thought we would. We had people who were like, I've been a fan since Deceiver and I never thought I'd see you, like, so we drew, and
And is that
having
because of
New
where you
Reality
went?
on Octane helps. Um,
Like what I guess what I mean is like because that was a place you'd never played before. Like out of curiosity,
we've
so maybe
never,
they never had a
yeah,
chance to see you.
yeah, like so we're in Royal Oak today, for instance, and it's like 6 hours. So it's like not everyone can drive 6 hours. And and we sometimes give people shit like, yeah, just get in your car, do a road trip. Oh, don't sleep, like blah blah. That's what we do. Not everyone is built like that. Not everyone can actually do that. And I understand that. But yeah, so there's people who like, unless you come within, I don't know, there's no other venue. There's just no other venue. Unless you come there, they might never see one of their favorite bands. And
Right.
it's not what I would call a high financially fruitful area. So it's not like there are even jobs consistent for people who maybe like our music to travel. There's not much. There's the casino. It's kind of like a touristy town, I think, in the summer. I've been told of, like, you go there and it's like where you get away from things. It's not like there's a big downtown. There is no downtown. There is nothing. There's nothing. The casino is it. And
That's fucking crazy. Is this the first time you played a casino?
so yeah, it is. Well, no, we've played a venue in a casino in Vegas, but it's different. Like House of Blues, there's the Joint in I can't remember. I think it's in what was Hard Rock. Um, there are a few, but in Vegas it's just different because it's so centered around entertainment. Whereas this is very much a casino that has just like a giant open room that you
Hmm.
can play a show. So, some people were like, oh, like I couldn't hear your vocals. And it's like you were standing up against or sitting in a chair up against like a 8 foot tall stage with no center fills, or anything. So it's like you had the worst possible spot to ever hear a concert in your
To pick
entire
up your
life,
chair
and
and move. Like, this is your problem. Like,
they could go anywhere as far as I could tell. I don't know, but it was very interesting. uh like I said, everyone had a good time because it's like what they know. So and no band had like an advantage over the other. You could tell like it's a market Pop Evil crushes because of the active rock. There's no way we would draw 1,500 people there, but I think we would at least draw a few hundred people there. And the reaction was like they were just as into it as you can get, because all you can do is stand up in front of your chair.
I
You
was
can
going to ask if they
headbang, you
were
can like blow the
allowed.
horn. Yeah, you can stand, but it's like you're not going to jump because you're probably going to fall over and knock someone over, or
right, you're not
so
gonna
it's like
mosh.
no, you can't mosh. Like one guy, we were playing sellout on this tour, and I was just like, normally we're playing songs in this set that are like made for crowd participation, and I'm like, normally we'd be doing asking you to do this tonight, but obviously we're not going to try to do that. And one guy was like, "Fuck it, let's do it." And I was like, "Sir," I literally was like, "Sir, if you can get this place to do a circle pit somehow," I was like, I will love every person in this venue. I will give you a kiss." And he was, because I have to preface this by saying, it was one of the most horny crowds I've ever played for in my life.
What
And
the fuck does
because
that even mean?
so I had a dude, there were two like maybe grandpas in the front row, just die
What a way
hard
to
like
start.
metal fans, holding the horns, but they kept wanting me to like touch their horns. And then once I touched their horns, they're like putting their fingers through my fingers. And then he was like,
What?
he gave me the peace sign, but then he did the,
Bro, these
and
guys have
I
never
was
been to a
like,
show before. This is the first fucking concert in Sioux Falls in history. They're losing their fucking minds.
so I mean, I asked about it beforehand, and they were like, honestly, everyone just gets really drunk and they just vibe. And I was like, all right. So, but it was like a very sexually innuendo, seductive like show. So I was just going with it. So I was like, dude, I will kiss you if you can get this crowd to do a circle pit. And he was
What
hyped.
a
He was
what
like,
an
this guy, am I gonna get a kiss from this guy? Hell yeah. He
I,
tried, he failed. So I mean,
I
what a shame.
respect your game. Feed into it, of course.
yeah, I
What
mean,
an
there.
insane
This is
energy to start this fucking tour, by the way, because now
you.
every
You
show
have
after is
one
normal, right?
normal. No other show like it on the tour. Like this is how I try to be as a front man. I let the crowd dictate what kind of front man I'm going to try to be that night. When in our early years, I'm like, motherfuckers, let's go. It was all like what it was all like at a 10 the whole time. Now some nights I'm like, what's up, dude? And I'll stop. We'll just like cruise, and I'll just go on like a 3 minute like how they do it like stand up comedy. I'll be like, "What's your name? What do you do? Like, what are you here for?" Like, because like
Crowd
maybe
work
that's what that
fucking movie
crowd
live
needs.
shirts?
Yeah, like So like to me, I don't know.
Was
Like
anyone born in
that's.
2012?
I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure. That it's also funny when you have like the history that we have. I feel like we've lived like lives, like bands who've gone past 10 years. You're like cats, like you've lived some lives to get to that point. And so I try not to take it too serious, which is why it's always funny to me when people think that I like take it so serious live, because I'm like, if you knew me, I'm like, I'm just trying to survive, brother. I'm like tonight's like the second I walk off stage, I might be like bummed like at myself, or like me not performing at my best, or maybe I have my in-ear mix issue or something like that. To me, once I walk off stage, I'm like, okay, the next time I'm going to see fans is at the merch table, and then hopefully they liked us. Like the thing you learn is like 90% of the time, you're going to be harder on yourself than anyone in the crowd. And someone who's overly critical of a band and a live show, like they either don't care or don't get what happens, night to night. Like, I didn't sleep last night. I know now that I've done this a million times. Like, I know how to work my voice so that I'll be fine for the show. But like when you're a younger band, like you don't know. You're just like, yeah, like the singer's driving every night. It's like, maybe the singer who needs to use his voice should sleep and recover. It's, those types of things. So for me, playing a show, I'm like, I'm gonna give my best, and I know that that's it, and then I can walk off stage and I can be fine. So I'm never like, fuck this crowd. You know, it's just not even
All right,
a
we
thing.
believe you, Telly. We believe you. You love crowds. You're giving it
I,
your
I,
bet.
I
You're
do I do I
trying.
do tell people. I know you guys have probably been to one of our shows, and I've said this before because
Probably.
Worcester's really, really fucking good most of the time. Not always, most of the time. But when I say like, I was like, this crowd's cooking. Like, this could be like a really good night. You guys could be like one of the best. Like, it's because it can actually happen. I promise you, if you see me in Boise, Idaho, you will never hear me say those words. Like, I, I do not lie to Boise, and I will tell
Bro,
them,
I
I'm
know how
like,
down
look,
bad right now.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, look, you guys, this is a Tuesday night in Boise. I'm glad that you're here. I know that this isn't gonna be this like
Oh my
crazy
god.
experience,
This is fucking insane right
but
now.
but what if it was crazy for Boise on a Tuesday? And I start that, and it's more like it's fun rather than like,
And they're
you know,
yelling from
Whit-
their seats.
yeah, yeah. Well, honestly, like places like that, they like instead of taking offense to it, which like Worcester probably would like be offended if I was like saying certain things.
Bro, you
Like,
wouldn't have left
boy,
that venue.
yeah, Boise's like, oh, let's show him, and then it's like reverse psychology in certain markets. So like, if I say, dude, this crowd's fucking insane, it's because it actually is. Like, I don't have anything to gain by. I don't want you to think you're killing it when you're not. I don't want you to tell me I had the best set of my life if I sucked. It's like
You're gonna stop with these trade
the
secrets, all right? You don't want Boise to catch on to you. Like, so let them think that like you're up there giving it your all, and they're one of the best crowds you've ever seen.
you know what I will say this: Boise is one of the most underrated cities to go to. I would never live there, but you think Boise, and you're maybe like in the middle of nowhere, there's nothing. Boise is
Yeah.
actually a really cool city. It's and there's a lot of cool cities and that's tour for me at this point in
Don't
my life.
fucking
Like I
backtrack
don't
this, Telly. You said Boise sucks. That crowd's asleep every time you go
I didn't
there.
say I didn't say so. They are a little sleepy. They are a little sleepy. It takes them at least 4 to 6 songs usually to like be like, okay, we
Okay.
fuck with this. And I'm like, if we're on a support tour, we only got 7 songs. Like, motherfuckers, I only got 1 song left.
Right, they wake up for
Like, and
misery, and that's it. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, and now you have to go as hard as possible because there's only 1 song left.
It's fucking nuts. Boise sucks, bro. I'm
Are
with you.
are those fan interactions a little different after the show? They'll like dap you up, be like, great set for Boise on a Tuesday.
You know what? I think some people are aware of it, and some people say sorry. They're like, sorry, we weren't better. And I'm like, look, you're Boise on a Tuesday. Like, I'm not gonna judge you the same as I am like New York City on a Friday night. It's just there's different levels to it, but we genuinely do try to give like the same show every night. Because for us, if we don't sound good, it's not that fun for us. Like we've played really great crowd participation shows where like everything went wrong for us, like on stage or whatnot, or someone had a bad show, and it's hard to like get over that. It's hard to like push through and be like, I know that the fans had fun. Like we do genuinely have the most fun when we are like doing well. So as long as we're doing well, we can have fun at any show. But will we want to go back there like 3 times a year? Not necessarily.
Yeah, maybe if they build a casino there, it'd be worth your time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Give me
Listen,
my own hotel room, and
that has
I'm
to make
about
the
it.
difference. Yeah.
Oh, it's
We
great. It's great.
we got some fan questions I'm dying to ask you, Telly.
I,
Jerry
I
wants to
saw some on
know.
the list. I'm hyped. I'm hyped for this
Okay.
list. And
I,
don't
I
be
only
afraid.
picked three, so I hope it's the three you hated. Jerry wants to know who your favorite character on Plum Island is. And this is an aside from me. What the fuck is Plum Island?
Oh my God. Okay. Do you guys stream on Twitch? Do you have a
No.
Twitch? Okay. So I stream on Twitch when I'm off tour, and I used to play a lot of video games during like the pandy. It's like nothing else to do.
Right.
Then I got to a point where I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be a pro gamer. I jokingly say I am at all times, but I'm like, I'm not gonna like gain all these like Twitch followers because of my gameplay. So after a
Mhm.
while, it was like I just felt like I was wasting my time. Like I'm like I could be making music, I could be doing something, or I could be. Then when you're playing a video game, you can't really be too connected with your chat unless you're like really, really, really good at the game. Then you can do that. But I'm like struggling just to keep up. So I'm like, okay, how can I change up my channel? Because I did enjoy streaming. So I basically switched to what's called just chatting streamer. I barely play any games ever, and I do a hyper focus on listening to music, reacting to music, and then essentially just I don't know how to describe.
There we go.
There he is. Just like
Listen,
I remembered him.
the world isn't ready to hear about Plum Island.
Bro. All right. So you were
So,
saying, all
so
right, you switched to just chatting. You're a terrible gamer,
yeah,
but you tell everyone you're
yeah,
good. Plum Island.
yes, yeah, Plum Island. So what I switched to is I set these goals, and every 100 gifted subs, I do an episode of a hand drawn TV series. So if you've ever seen like Adult Swim, it's like weird, doesn't make sense humor. It's kind of fucked up, but it's like wholesome at the same time. And based off of who has like supported the channel, I create characters for them in this world. And then I draw them. I'm a terrible drawer. And it's all about the world has essentially ended. We're in a post apocalyptic life where we are regenerating the world. We found this island. It's basically Plum Island. Is if you've seen Eastbound and Down, Will Ferrell's character, where he's like, I can feel it down in my plums. Like, just that is one of my favorite moments in TV history, and I love that show. So I
So
created a world in which um
hold on.
everyone's
Pause.
yes,
Please pause. Is Plum Island a real thing, or is this something you invented?
I invented it.
Okay. All
And
right.
it's
You
basically about the
invented.
superpowers of scrotums and
All right. Keep
how
going.
and it, you just gotta see it. You just gotta
Oh
see
yeah,
it.
sure. It would all make sense when I
I,
watched it. Yeah.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna after this, I'm gonna shoot you a message of a still of one of the episodes after it's done,
Uh-huh.
and you can zoom in and you can go through it. So what I do is I turn on Hans Zimmer. So I draw. I'm like on Twitch. They can't see what I'm drawing, and I'm basically just like bullshitting an episode and creating a storyline. So then I put Hans Zimmer on, and then I start with one scene like super zoomed in, and you only see like one character, and I slowly zoom out and tell you the story of what's happening. And by the end of like this really dramatic build from Hans Zimmer, usually each episode takes about 15 minutes to tell. Um, I'm going through it. I'm basically at the top of my lungs, like hype, over dramatizing this crazy story, and
Do
it
you voice
makes
these
no
characters?
sense. I voice what's happening, and I go into detail about each character. Let me just tell you, the cliffhanger from season one was there was a
We're on
character.
season 2?
Yeah. Oh, and I've been booked. We call it the studio. Is my chat is the studio. So they've renewed us for season three. Essentially, like right before I left for tour, I had
Congratulations.
I had someone gift me like 700 subs in one stream to get to season
Oh
three and
god.
beyond. So it's chaotic and it doesn't make sense. But the big cliffhanger at season one was this one character wasn't actually a character; it was actually Brian Stars in disguise.
Oh
And so
god.
now in season two, we're in the middle of uh, a aerial battle with Brian Stars, and we're trying to defeat him.
What the
So,
fuck inspired this fever dream? How did you
honestly,
start this?
honestly, it started on the back of a Hallmark card, and it just started with two characters, and some tequila, and I just I don't know, like I just talk about random shit and then I go off on tangents that don't make sense. And that's like my humor is like dark humor, sarcastic, like doesn't make sense. And that's what created this. And then it's just grown throughout my community and my Discord. And so like people who've like earned being a character now, like their like profile pictures in my Discord are like their characters on Plum Island.
This is so fucking
And
wild. I didn't
Do
realize you guys were having
yeah,
so much fucking fun on Twitch. Maybe I would have actually tuned
yeah,
in during like the last 3 years when everybody signed up. Like
yeah.
this
I
is
honestly like
crazy.
me with streaming is how I do life. Like it doesn't make sense. There's no purpose necessarily, but we get to the end of the day and we're like, that was a good day, you
I'm
know?
sorry, did you just say your life has no purpose and makes no sense? Is that what you just said?
It's how I like to
Are you
live
having
my
a rough
life.
couple of years, Telly? Are you good, bro?
I did have a rough couple of years, but I'm better now.
Good. Well, it's good to hear it.
When
Jesus.
I say dark, like sarcastic humor, I'm very self-deprecating and just like, yeah, I say at least once a week, nothing matters. That's, I don't actually believe that, but
I feel
it's
you.
just
I'm with
easier
you.
to
We're
get
on the
through
same
life that way.
page.
Yeah, I'm
Are
like, nothing matters.
are you in Plum Island? Are you a character?
Yeah. Yes, yes. It was presumed at first that I was. It's only funny because I know how I let everyone know that I was still alive, and I was so
So much lore.
I'm the Plum Lord, and
Right.
I just only wear a
Obviously.
robe, and I was in a cave, and I thought everyone else was dead, and I was just living in a cave, but then they found me, and so now, yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna have a
back
lot
to
of fun
being.
rewatching all of these and seeing like the the like conception of all of this after this
If
explanation.
I don't know if I think it's in my Discord, but we have them all saved, so you can see episode 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you can go
I know
through.
all I gotta do is ask and somebody will give it to me.
Yes, yeah. It's we will help you get caught up on Plum Island.
Man.
All right. Evan asked, Evan said we're done having fun, and he wants to know what your least favorite newer song you've made. Violent Noise Forward. So what's a Word Alive song from the last 5 years
From
that
Violent
you don't like?
Noise for. Um, can one of you read the track listing off of Violent Noise for me?
Of course.
We're on it. We're on it.
Of course, of course, of course.
So we've almost narrowed it down. It's on that album.
Well, I know my least favorite on Monomania is I'm Sorry You're Sorry Now is my least favorite.
Really?
Even
Why?
though it's so this is also when I say least favorite, it's also sometimes to me it's like it doesn't mean I don't like the song. It might mean I wish we didn't put it out or didn't put it out on that album or in this time frame. Like I'm Sorry You're Sorry Now for me is like a song where I don't think it served the purpose of the record, and it doesn't mean I don't think the song's cool. Like I think it's a really catchy song and it's got a nice groove to it, but I don't think it did anything for the record. And um, I actually wanted some other songs to make the record that didn't. Wonderland being one of them, and uh, but yeah, we were just all over the place at the time. As you know, like we were about to go through some member changes, which during that recording process was already kind of known. So there was just some songs that like made the record that similarly to other parts and other times in our career, if one person has one foot out the door kind of thing, it really can impact the record. And I just don't think it was the song that pulled the record towards what I think Monomania at least is to me, which is a more like a deeper look emotionally into like what was going on in the band, certain things we were experiencing. And I think I'm Sorry Now felt too lighthearted, even though lyrically I think it matched it, but sonically, like the way it sounds too lighthearted to me, compared to what I feel like the record felt like as a whole.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
That actually feels like a really
So
great answer to this whole
yeah,
question, but
like if you hear No Way Out, which is to me one of the most personal and hard to sing songs of my life, and then you play I'm Sorry Now like right after it feels like I don't know, like a Disney version of like what the message is. And
like the
so
energy
to
is not
me,
balanced correctly. Yeah.
yeah, so that would be that for Monomania. And then for Violent Noise, what's the track list?
All right, so it's not Red Clouds, it's not Why Am I Like This, it's not Stare at the Sun. Is it I Fucked Up? It's not War Evermore.
No,
Human?
yeah.
I Don't Mind, Real Life, Lost in the Dark, My Enemy, Runaway, Lonely.
Uh it's either um it's either I fucked up or Real Life.
Now, you guys,
Either
you dropped I Fucked Up as a single. So there was some confidence in that
against
song at some point.
against our will.
What do you mean against our will?
I'll be
What
straight up.
label were you on at the time?
Fearless.
Right.
So we had a mostly great relationship with Fearless as far as singles went throughout most of our career. 2 albums we didn't get to pick all the singles, if I remember correctly, and that would be Real and Violent Noise. No, actually Dark Matter as well. We didn't get to pick everything. So the label got to pick one song for those releases. They picked The Runaway, which we didn't want. We were fine with Lighthouse being a single, but just being completely transparent. Runaway, we didn't want it to be. We didn't want 2 songs that were kind of like outliers on the record to be the singles, because we were put back in the studio to make more songs after we had already turned in the record for Real. So Real's original thing had, I can't remember what's the bonus song on the record. Super Heavy.
Fuck.
I think it starts with I. Fuck.
God damn it. I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure Play the Victim was dropped as a single like 9 years ago today, which is fucking crazy.
Oh, I love that for us. Whatever the bonus song was supposed to just be on the record, and I think the song was supposed to be 12 songs. And then they put us back in the studio with John Feldman because Feldy was like interested in the band, and he like had time open up, and they're like, oh well, maybe this will be, you know, a huge gateway shift for the band. We went in, like, it was just a weird experience. I think Lighthouse is undeniably like great song. Again, it's kind of one of those things where I wish it would feel more like the rest of the record and still have the like the catchiness that it does. Pull Us Out of the Grave is the song, by the way.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It says Japanese and iTunes bonus track. I feel like I've never even heard it.
It starts with like crazy blast beats. It's like one of the heaviest Word Alive songs ever. Right, it's actually really sick. I love it. Yeah, it's sick. I want to play it live one day. But anyways, so on these 3 records, we didn't pick you know, Lighthouse was kind of like, well, we have to because we just spent all this money and we went with John Feldman. So it's like, yeah, we got to. But it's like when you compare it to like Play the Victim, Glass Castle, I understand why it kind of put a bad taste in people's mouth who weren't necessarily ready or expecting that sound from the band.
This is your first experience with metalcore fans turning on you, right? Like that was the fucking start of it all.
Yeah. Real was the record that like really started to divide our fan base, and I totally get it. I think Real is an underrated record. I think the mix isn't that great for me, and I think single choices weren't the best. I think Glass Castle is the only single, if I were to go back and do it again, it's the only song that I would still pick as a single today. I don't even know I would
so
pick
fucking
Play the Victim,
because I love Play the Victim so much, and I hate that it just never got the love I thought it should have.
Yeah, I think the chorus is good. I think it drags too much in the verses. And the bridge, while I think it's cool and, you know, it's got that more post-hardcore feel to it, I just don't think it hits as hard live as like we thought it would or hoped it would. By the way, I'm the most like open book when it comes to our discography and records and all the things. That's why when I read some of the comments asking questions, I was like, bro, ask me the brutal ones. I don't care.
Oh God, I would have pulled more if that's the case. Jesus.
Yeah.
So you point out something interesting though, which is that you don't love I Fucked Up. I kind of get the energy from you that you don't love The Runaway as a single choice. And the story that we're telling here is that it kind of sounds like labels aren't super great at choosing singles. Did that like stress your relationship with Fearless at all after a few years?
So, you know, I will again preface by saying Fearless believed in us from day one. They pretty much gave us free reign, you know, at a time where a lot of bands were having a lot of their labels, you know, I know for instance, Sumerian, we're having a lot of input from their label on like, you got to change this song is not making the record, you got to go back in the studio. Fearless really like let us do our thing, and I think that's why you see so much diversity from the Word Alive over from Empire to Deceiver to Life Cycles, and you can see us trying things. It's because we were allowed to, And I think when you got to that point, though, the stakes were a little bit higher, our budgets were getting bigger, and everyone wanted to feel like, they're a part of it, but like we're making the right decisions. Well, by that time, though, the label was starting to shift, like internally. We had 3 different A&Rs by the time we hit Rio. So our team wasn't necessarily the same team behind the scenes. And yeah, it started to like shift things because we were like, see, this isn't working, but ultimately the band gets blamed no matter what. No label is going to be like, yeah, that's on us, so we're not going to hold that against you. It's like, if it doesn't work, it's like, well, you wrote the song, it's like, well, yeah, but like, I would never have picked it for a single. And maybe it would have worked if it was introduced to our audience in a specific way. And I think that's like one thing that like bands don't really get a lot of leniency on, is trying to find what works for them, but like having that trust from the label. But maybe you are like needing the label's input because maybe you don't know. So it's like it's a double-edged sword. You can go either way with it. With Dark Matter, they forced us to do Sellout, which is fine because I like that song. It's fun live. But when you go and listen to Dark Matter, there's no other song on the record like it. It would have been
Fair.
like on Violent Noise making I Don't Mind a single. I love that song. I think it's a banger. It's a really cool song. But I wouldn't have ever put it as a single because it was really just for us. And that's kind of like how Sellout was it was kind of just for us to do a song a little more rooted in punk that was just new for us to try something different. We weren't intending for it to be a single. So for us, it's hard when it's like songs maybe don't track as well, or they don't represent the record or the band as well, but it's kind of forced upon you. Then you have Violent Noise, and the same thing happened with um,
We're talking about
what
I
was the
fucked up.
third? Yeah, I fucked up. And it, to me, like My Enemy, we wanted My Enemy to be the single.
Mm.
I think, and I still to this. That's why we brought it back out and played it live for the first time last year. Is it's a great live song. Like the shows we played where like From Ashes to New had the heavier draw. Like it still gets everyone moving whether you knew the song or not. I think it's catchier. I just think it feels cooler, and the lyrics are better to me. And so it's
Is
like
that a
it's
rare
just
occasion where
everything was
you're
better.
almost in a position where you're trying to convince the fan base that this is a song that they want to hear? Whereas I would imagine the vast majority of that set list is everything that's already kind of like shown that they are fan favorites, right? Like this is almost like I get when you have like a new album and you're like, all right, I'm gonna bring in some of these new songs and feel them out. But like when you're going
Yeah.
back into the catalog and being like, actually, guys, this song was great. Like,
Yeah.
give it another chance. But everything else
Yeah.
is the singles, right?
So, post us having lineup changes, because that kind of freed us up to, we could play any song again that we wanted to. And I'm not trying to throw Tony and Matt under the bus, but the reality is like they didn't want to play certain songs, and that's half the band,
What's the
So it's like,
rationality behind that? Like, why wouldn't they want to play? Like, you don't have to give me an
well,
in-depth answer, but like,
I'll try to give you the fastest answer that I think probably a lot of bands deal with, and it's something that we fucked up with in our career that now I think we're like correcting. And that is, when you have a new album, you're like clearly like it's like dating someone and it's the first month. You're like every song, you want to play every song, like, but like that isn't realistic. It doesn't make sense, especially say if you're not like, Pierce the Veil could drop an album and they could just play that record front to back. And they did that with, I think, Collide the Sky when it first came out. I think they just said straight away, like, we're just playing this whole album. Like, it's that good.
right.
You can do that when you're on a certain level and you have a certain type of fan base. It's like very rabid. I'm sure, like, say, Bad Omens with their next record, if they wanted to, they could play front to back the new album and sprinkle in like their biggest songs, and fans wouldn't care that they've never heard some of the songs live, um, or ever heard them at all. We, and like a lot of bands make the mistake of, you play too many new songs too soon. You cut out like songs that are really successful for your band, fan favorites, and then by the time you would get back to it later in the album cycle where you maybe want to put them in, either another song's taking off, or you're working on the next record, or it just kind of gets lost, or you're only having 6 songs, 7 songs, and in your mind you're like, well, we got as much life out of that song as we can, like let's see if another song can grow. And now, like, what we're doing is, like, our set list for this tour is the craziest support tour set list we've ever had. It starts with Deceiver and it goes through now. The only record we don't represent is Real, um, and that's in a support thing. We would never even do that on a headliner for years, which blew my mind.
Well, out
But
of
it's you
curiosity
get
though, I feel like I don't know if I still understand like why, like other members of the band were so against playing specific songs.
I think, it's hard being a band, and you like certain songs, maybe you don't like other songs, maybe a song blew up for you and you're like, fuck, I hate that I have to play this song. Some people just didn't like playing certain songs,
So you're saying
or
it's
some
incredibly
people felt,
personal.
yeah, and when you had a band like us that was trying to be as democratic as possible, not having like me pick every song or one person. It was like we really tried to make it as democratic as we could. That was the worst thing we could do, because we also had then between 4 and 6 members who wanted 4 and 6 different set lists, and it was like always a pain in the ass, and always came down to the last minute to like pick, and we're like, well, I guess we'll just play this, and we got stuck in a loop of playing a lot of the same songs but not playing the right songs, forcing songs because either A, they were singles and we felt like we had to, or, we play a song and in my mind, I'm like, this isn't going over well live. I don't want to play this. Let's swap out something else. And they're like, well, we picked this set list. This is what we practice. Let's just play this. So we would be stuck playing a set that like maybe 3, 4, 5 songs weren't going over well with the crowd, but we just didn't have full member participation to like switch it up. Now, if the song isn't hitting, we swap it out. You get like 3 to 5 shows max, and if it's not going over well, it gets taken out of the set.
Sounds more businesslike.
And yeah, and but it's more enjoyable for the fans. It's more enjoyable for us. Like I've never understood playing live for yourself. To me, being in the studio, writing the songs, trying to work as a team, all that, that's for us first and foremost. When you get on stage, you switch from being just a musician and now you're an entertainer. You people are paying to see you perform, to put on a show, to play songs that hopefully, obviously, we love and they love. When you get away from that and you get into the like too much, like I just want to play what I want to play, I think you lose sight of like the joy of playing a show. And so it became like a chore to pick the set list. It became a chore to like go on tour and play songs. And so I think that really like impacted the band, impacted writing, impacted, everything, because we were just so on different pages. But
So you'd say right now there's a much healthier dynamic within the band.
absolutely. And like recently Tony and I had a really long call before him and the Sleeping Sirens guys left for Australia, and we just had like probably one of the most important conversations of our friendship to date, and that is the realization that like you can be with someone for a long time in a relationship, and you can realize and love someone and realize like maybe you're not meant to be with that person forever. And I would probably say he's happier than he's been in many years being with them, and we're happier than we've been in many years. Matt is doing he's in control of his own destiny, whether he texts or plays. And I think that's what he wanted, is just more like to do whatever he wanted to do, whatever. And for Zach, it's kind of like he gets to be more like the spice and like be his like charismatic, person, where he can do what he does best rather than feeling all this pressure and competition back and forth, like from just having longevity within the band with someone else. It's like also that now he's being able to teach and show people things. I think it's exciting for him to like be playing guitar, and after taking time off too, like getting to step back from the band and see it moving forward, without you, was, while he was able to get healthy, was so revitalizing for him and the band. So he's like having more fun than I've seen him have since like the early few years. So it's all like starts and ends with the music. It's the lifeblood of the band. Like us playing the right songs. Oh, we're having more fun on stage. Oh, now tour is easier. Oh, now like fans are enjoying it. Now, stream sales are going up. It's just it all connects to the music.
I had a question later on that was going to touch on like the unexpected pros and cons of the Word Alive having like a smaller camp nowadays. And I think that
Yeah.
really touched on a lot of what I was hoping to get out of you with that question. So that's really all fascinating.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I think there's like when you kind of said like the boys broke up, there's like a sadness to it. It's like, hey, this relationship isn't, the same that it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever. But the like the fact that like you guys are still friends, I feel like you kind of like it makes me like it kind of warms my heart a little bit. It's like, all right, well, like that's good to hear. Like maybe working together, it wasn't perfect, but the fact that everyone can sort of acknowledge that and like move on from there is good.
Yeah, I think, we're all older now, and we would all agree we could do things differently if we could go back. And, the one thing I would say that if there's any musicians, watching this or listening would be like communication is everything in any relationship in life, but especially in a band, you're going to spend more time with those humans than you do your significant others, your family, your
Right.
friends back home. Like, I think you get into this thing where you're like, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to step on anyone's toes because I don't want to make someone's tour hard because it's not easy. And it's worse to do that. And I think, like Parkway Drive just did a whole segment on like communication, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you get to a point where it's like you realize like we're going to break up. Like if we keep going like this. And
Did
that was
those
never the
discussions ever
goal.
happen?
Oh, many times. Yeah, many
What do you
times.
mean many times? Like
The Word Alive has
how
had
heated were they
major.
really?
I'd say, we were pretty good about not going too deep or too personal. I would say we had under 5 times that were like people needed to like walk away and we needed to like take some time away from each other. Um,
And is that just a case
and
of like, okay, maybe this is like our third tour back to back. We've spent a lot of time together,
most of it was in the prime of like touring 7 to 10 months out of the year for sure. But before the years where anyone knew, hey, like we could take some time off, and it doesn't mean our fans are just going to literally disappear in like 3 months.
Mhm.
But when you come up and you're like so used to fighting for every single scrap in the industry, every single win that you can possibly have, you are literally trained that if you stop, if you take a break, someone's going to pass you, someone's going to want it more, someone's going to get the tour that if you would have just done this and you would have got that next tour. Like it's so backwards and it's so fucked up, and it's really mentally taxing, and it's honestly it's manipulative. The industry as a whole is very manipulative to young artists because it trains you that like you're never good enough, nothing's good enough, and you always have to work more. Well, no, sometimes you need to take a step back and like analyze and communicate and regroup. We, the Word Alive started touring in 2008. We didn't have a break, like really, until the pandemic. Like really. Every time we were off tour, it was working on music, or like we needed a break from each other, but it was like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We never had longer than I think 3 weeks where at least one or all of us weren't having to do something demanding of our time with the Word Alive.
Would you say that
And
aspect of the pandemic was good for you guys?
oh, I obviously, and
No, I'm
people
not
could
saying
twist
does
my
that make the
words.
pandemic the best thing that ever happened. I'm saying was that
Yeah,
aspect good for you?
yes, the pandemic created a standstill moment for the Word Alive that I do not know would have happened otherwise. The only way it would have happened is I knew that we were on a trajectory to break up 1000%. Um, it was becoming not fun. It, you know, there was a lot of unspoken tension, I think hurt feelings, um, feeling like there were trust issues of like, is this other person, do they care about me? Do they care about what's going on in my life when I'm home? Because, obviously now like you know, trying to like build families and like take those next steps in life. And it's like everyone's a grown man now, it's like we're not teenagers anymore. But being in the word alive, it's kind of like this time warp where it's like stuck, where
Mhm.
real life has progressed outside of the band, but the band is still kind of like the same from like 10 years prior. So it's like, I think our maturity within the group hadn't developed at the same rate that we were personally outside of the band. And we didn't know how to reconnect. And the pandemic like really kind of forced that upon us. And like I said, it created this awareness that we all knew, which was certain members were getting closer and closer to leaving.
Mhm.
They didn't want to leave because they felt like the band would break up. They didn't want to break up the band, so they stayed in because it's like we loved each other, but we also needed to separate. It's kind of like that
Right. It's
toxic,
a
but you do
strange
love each
burden
other
because like
thing.
your livelihood is predicated on like them as well and vice versa. So
Yeah,
you're right. It's not like quitting your job retail. It's like
it's going to
25% of the
affect.
company steps away. That's huge.
Yeah, and I really do like respect that for Tony in particular because I think he probably held on maybe even 2 years longer than I think he should have for himself, not taking the band out of the equation,
Yeah.
for himself. I think he probably lasted 2 years longer than he should have for his own well being and personal success and just joy in life. When he stepped down, I'll never forget the phone call. Um, I was waiting on it. The second when he sent the text of like setting up the call, I was relieved for him and for the band because I knew it was coming and I was proud of him because I knew it took a lot for him to
I
step
bet.
down because it's all he's ever known and done. And so instantly the first thing I said to him was like, first off, I love you and like just know we're going to be fine. And it doesn't mean I don't want you in the band. We're going to be fine. It just means you have to do what's best for you. And we're going to figure that out because
Right.
that's what you just do. And so we try to make it as easy as possible. Matt was going to hold out through the end of that year. But then we were like, what's the point? Like, you might as well both go at the same time because he didn't want to do the tour. And it's like, what?
Respectfully, right?
Forcing someone to do a tour that doesn't want to do it, that's not healthy. Like, and we were like, this is essentially 4 months that you could be starting to work on whatever would be best for you next, rather than you have to put in all this time and effort into the Word Alive for this tour. And we all know it was different from when Luke left. When Luke left, it was like a going away party, and we were all
I
just
was
like
gonna ask if
rooting
he
for
just
him.
texted the group chat like, "Hey guys, I'm just gonna go run and grab some milk real quick. I'll be right on back."
When Luke was gonna leave, so we knew that too, but we knew Luke was gonna leave I at some point just
Why?
because he was getting so many opportunities left and right that like, bro, we were on we I think it was February, whatever. We knew we had like Warp Tour and we had a fall headliner. He was getting offered Shania Twain's like farewell tour. Like, it's
Okay.
like to try out. He almost got it, and I
I was
wish he
gonna
would
say,
have.
did
That
he
would have been
take
sick.
that? Did I totally miss this?
No, there was one person that like technically beat him out, and it's politics. At that level, like there's no like he ended up getting like in the mix and got some other gigs through that process, but he never was actually going to get
Could
it
he have
because of the
honestly kept
politics.
up? Shania Twain shit goes pretty hard.
Dude, so you know what, he'll tell you this too. What was really funny is the tryouts, we thought it was going to be so easy, and he was like, honestly, it's the hardest thing I've ever done because what you don't realize in music like that is like no no chorus, no verse is ever the same. There's maybe one little accent difference. There's this kick that happens that never happens again in this part. It's not like metalcore or a lot of rock where there is the chorus is just the same every time you hear it, or maybe it's double time the last one. It's like, no, there's little things, little intricate details that are different for every single song, and it's something you don't really
Interesting.
notice. But he was telling us, he's like, no, like this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do because it's so minimal and in the pocket that any one little thing off and everyone in that band knows.
And it's a
It's
big
not like
stage you're
you,
playing in front of too. Yeah.
yeah. So it's just a different level, but so like we knew we're like we can't compete with that, you know, and so we told him we're like, look, you're getting other opportunities. We know it's only a matter of time. We want you to know in advance whenever it comes time where you need to choose something that is like better for you, just know we support that.
Well, you
And
fucked up. You should have forced Luke to stay in the band. All right.
you know,
Like, who gives a
I
shit
love,
what he wants? Fuck those opportunities. I liked him at the Word Alive. He should have stayed.
yeah. I mean, we had a lot of fun, and I found him on YouTube, and I was like, hey, dude, would you like to try out for the Word Alive? Like, I feel so much pride, for kind of giving Luke his first shot, and and I love the success that he has. I think he's gonna completely break through this scene at some point and just go to a whole other level. I've said it for years. I think Luke, when it's all said and done, is going to be considered one of the top five, top 10 best drummers of all time. I think he's just he was born to do this in a way that is so unique. He's the 1% of the 1%, and so I love seeing him flourish, and I love seeing all of our guys. Daniel went on; he was doing front of house for Black Bear and Mod Sun, and he still plays
I didn't
music.
realize
And
that was a thing. That's pretty cool.
yeah, so it's like, you know, everyone in the band all has done really cool shit outside of the band. Dusty, who was our old keyboard player, is on Pawn Stars. It's like a multimillionaire like guy
Good
who's
for
on
him.
TV. It's like Craig obviously escaped the fate, and it's like everyone's friends, and everyone we talk about it all the time. We're like the Word Alive is like just kind of like this cool fraternity where I think with Tony and Matt, it was a little more personal because of just the longevity and the things we went through in the hardest years of the band.
Mhm.
But dude, I root for Tony all the time. I love seeing him happy, and I love the Sleeping with Sirens guys. So like to me, seeing him get to do what he does best, be on stage, kill it, I'm happy for him. And
Let's go deeper. We still talk to the Greeley Estates guys?
oh yeah, we talk all the time. We have
Okay,
a
that was
group
like
chat. It's
12
called
of the
Greeley
fucking fan
Dads.
questions was like, yeah, but what's going on with Greeley Estates right now?
So we did our 10-year reunion for Go West, a young man let the evil go east. We did a
Mhm.
trim down set in 2018, I think it was.
That
Yeah,
sounds
10 for
right.
the 10-year. We almost reunited this year. I almost got the guys back for I don't know
Furnace, Blue Ridge, which
for
one?
for either Furnace Fest, So What Fest. Mike Zemer's been a huge proponent of like trying to help bring the band that lineup back for something. Ryan has a new business, and everyone in the band but
Is
me
he
has
still a
multiple
therapist?
kids. Yes, but he expanded, and he's got his own brand new company that just is getting going this summer because we were going to reunite for this summer. Um, I will tell you at some point, Greeley Estates with that lineup with me, Alex, Brian, Brandon, and Ryan, we will play another show that like 100%.
Fun.
Um, we talk all the time. We enjoy, talking about just how life is now. We get to see each other's wives and kids, and it's just a cool environment when we all get together. Any of us get together. It's just like we. It was such a important time of all of our lives, and Ryan and Brandon were like significantly older, and Brian was kind of in the middle, and then me and Alex were like the babies. Like, we were teenagers and just or turned 21, in the band. Um, we want to Ryan is the rest of the band is 100% in constantly. Like we talk about it all the time. We stay up with the chops. Ryan is the one like it's a lot harder for him to get into the vocal shape, doing his job, being the dad that he wants to be. He just doesn't have a lot of time. And for him to get back into the vocal shape to do what he wants to do, he doesn't want to do it like half-ass. He only wants to do it if like he's like, I'm gonna kill it.
I respect that.
And he even was like, why don't you if you he was like, I don't want to hold you guys back from these opportunities. He's like, Telly, why don't you just do the vocals for it? And I was like, I will never play a show without you as the front man. It just wouldn't feel right. And so but that's like his heart. He loves us, and he wants Greeley to live on in people's hearts. And I don't know if you know, like the band never broke up. Like that, it was never a
That's
breakup
almost more frustrating,
situation.
honestly.
Yeah, it was. They just knew that they couldn't sustain touring anymore, and livelihoods were becoming more valuable outside. And when you have a family, it's like you have to choose your family over that. But our goal is to play at least one or two shows this year, and if not this year, then early next year. And so Greeley fans that will get, we're hoping to play either a Texas show and an Arizona show, a Texas, Southern California, and Arizona, but probably not more than that. No tours, no like even like week runs. It would be like 2 to 4 days, like max. But yes,
Aggravating.
that
I
like
think you should
we
come to
talk
New
we
England.
talk. You know what? If there was an offer that could get Ryan away from his kids, where it was like, hey Ryan, you're gonna want to play this show. But it's like we're an older band. We did really well 15, 16 years ago. But it was never like it would never be like from first to last reuniting with Sonny. It's not gonna garner like a
Hey, it would to
crazy
me,
payday.
Telly. To me, it would be.
Oh,
Same
it
thing.
would to me too. Yeah, it would to me too. So
So real quick,
we're all about it.
like you said, Greeley Estates have never gone away this whole time. When did Telle officially rejoin the band then?
So it's more, I would say this, when we did that reunion show, um, the lineup that we had for that album cycle, we just had like a really long talk and we were like, the what if. The reason I quit the band was because we went away from every single thing that I loved about that record. And that's also what led to Brian and Alex leaving too, was we went away from, I don't know what you want to call it. It was kind of like gothic post-hardcore. I don't even know. It's like
One of
kind
a
of
kind.
creepy.
It
Like
was one of a kind.
I think like in my opinion, and obviously I'm biased, but like when I listen back to that record, I truly feel like I've never heard anything like it. And I think we touched on something special, and then they just wanted to go super heavy. And I knew that was because of Ryan's voice, and it was just going to be easier for him to maintain just screaming all the time. And it just wasn't for me, and it wasn't for the guys. But we've talked about it, and we've been like, what if? What if we followed up Go West Young Man with an even more polished version of that, adding in me with vocals, which was the plan, so that Ryan didn't have to do as much and we could play off each other like we did live. I think
Man,
it
this
would have been a
fucking
special record.
sucks. This sounds
Yeah,
really great.
we've talked about writing and doing just a song for fun in that style, and there are some demos that have started to scratch the surface. So I wouldn't say you'll never hear something from this lineup again. And as far as like me rejoining, it's never been like an official like I'm back in the band. It's just more like we're just all like really good friends, and we knew that this is the lineup that if we were going to do something again, this is what it would be.
Okay. All right. Enough old shit. Bubble Shinobi wants to know what's going on with the new album. What's the sound? What inspired it? When's it drop?
um I do have we have a rough release date finally as of like a week ago.
And it's not
Um
this fucking year, right? Like it's better than that.
it is this year. It is this
No,
year.
no, no. I mean
Yeah,
to say,
well,
yeah, but it's more cemented than just this year, right? Like it's
oh yes, yes, yes.
a month.
I know the month. I know the
Okay.
month it'll come out
What do you
for
think? Like July?
sure. um you know,
This tour goes on
no.
for like 2 fucking months, right? Like it's April through like the end of May or some shit.
Yeah, and so it's we are gone. Well, I get home and then I fly out the next morning. So I'll be gone from home for like 6 weeks, but I think it's gone 5.5 weeks to play 26 shows. So we have a lot of off days on this tour. Um,
Oh,
but to answer the album question, long story short, we have some more singles, plural, to come. There's a very specific reason for us doing the album this way. It's not necessarily, it has nothing to do with Spotify, none of that stuff. Like people are going to love the songs or the record or not, in my opinion. And but we've just never had the opportunity. I've never had this much time off to make a record. We had written a record with Tony and Matt, the majority of it. I scrapped almost that entire record, rewrote a new record.
Ah,
Um, I think I probably wrote from pre-pandemic, because after Monomania started writing like right away, and one song I had written during in 2019. The earliest song that started being written for this next record was 2019, and
Nice.
so I probably wrote 50 songs.
when
Like
you say you're writing, are you writing alongside anyone? Do you guys have like a producer you're working with specifically for this album?
so off, yes, off and on. It depends from song to song. So on this record, I have a song that just I wrote with Zach. We have some songs with Eric Ron. We have some songs with Matt Good, and we have the majority of the songs I did with Hiram Hernandez, who people are gonna definitely know his name more and more. Um,
Should I know it now? Can you give me like an example of someone else they've worked with?
he's he's doing the new Asley Dying record right now. He
So
did
we
Interesting.
Dragged
will soon know
Under.
him,
All
right?
right. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. He's done some co-write stuff like Atreyu.
When's the As I Lay
He's
Dying album drop?
the I will tell you what I heard, and I am, because I went to the studio the other day. Ryan from Miss May I is obviously doing double duty. Um, it's fucking everything you would want an Asley Dying record to be.
Fans will be
It's
happy. I gotcha.
I think it's gonna be the best record in a long time. I think it's going to blend
Interesting.
every single thing, and I definitely think that Hiram's a part of that. You know, he has this like chip on his shoulder, I want to prove myself kind of attitude. He's a great songwriter, great singer, great guitar player, plays drum, plays every instrument. Um, and he kind of got a bad rap like early on in his career. He's from Arizona too, as far as like getting into the scene and writing and recording and all that. He's very passionate, very hot, kind of like how people talk about John Feldman, I think sometimes, where it's like very intense and it either works or it doesn't work with you. Well, for me, I'm coming through like, hell with the band, and like all and climb. I'm trying to like be Telle the Phoenix, like I want
Okay.
to take everything we ever did wrong, everything we ever did right, everything I ever hoped the word alive could be or mean, and put it into one album. So no one was going to be able to like match me on like my fire, and Hiram has come the closest. And like we would get into it, and I'm like we're like getting aggressive, and I'm like, this is my shit. I'm like, this is what I want. Like I love that. Like I love the battles. I love the like, but why do you want that part? Like, and it's not even necessarily because you disagree, but it's like you want someone to care enough that's like they actually know why they're saying they like or don't like something,
Okay.
rather than just like, this sounds cool, or this is what I like, or this is what I don't like, and you're like, what don't you like about it? I don't know, like there's no moment on this whole record where there isn't a lot of intention put into it. Like every single part was thought out, written, rewritten. I mean, I dedicated my entire life for like a year and a half to like writing the record off
Is this
tour.
another
And
benefit of the pandemic? Air
yes,
quotes. Yes.
yeah. And so like for me, the reason the record is coming out slower is because we were always like, go in the studio, you have like 2 to 4 weeks to write whatever you hadn't already. And then you record it, and then boom, 2 3 months later the record's out. But it's like it was always very
Traditional.
like this system and traditional. I wanted to like slow play. I wanted some of the songs to sink in a little bit deeper. Nocturnal Future, the choice for that being the first single, was not because I think it's the best song on the record, not because I thought it was going to be a song that was going to like make every fan be like, holy fuck. Like I felt like it was the right song to hear first for the message of the song, the way it starts. I wanted people to kind of like turn their heads and be like, okay, what's going to happen here? And then with New Reality, I wanted to show like we're not going to just try to do all the same thing. I wanted to showcase like there's a lot of high energy on the record. I think guitars and drums are like obviously just it's only 2 songs in, but they're gonna be on another level from what they've been the last few records. Um, I love drums very much. Like my favorite drummer in the world is Aaron Gillespie. I love how he plays drums, both
So
live,
that's why
studio.
Luke left. I understand.
No, I was always like I loved Luke going off, and I actually always encouraged Matt to try to pop off more, and he didn't really want to, which is fine. I respect. He's Matt is an incredible drummer, one of the best I've ever played with, and one of the best in our scene. It just wasn't his style, and that's fine. When I'm like behind the scenes and I'm like co-piloting, writing all the songs, I'm writing drums like I could actually play that shit. You know, I'm like, what would I want to
Okay.
play? Like,
Okay.
and so me and Hiram just went, we buckled down, we took the songs I did with Eric and Matt, and Zach and Matt wrote together, did a one song. I did a song with Matt, um, me, Zach, and actually Tony has a little bit in one of the songs on the record. We didn't swap out his parts because I thought it'd be cool to like have a piece of him, you know,
It's almost like a paying
in one of the
tribute.
songs. Yeah, like we could have like changed that, and I'm like, no, like I like that I can hear him in the song.
Is it well?
Um,
3 producers, is that a very specific choice? Like, is that because you want like a lot of variety in your record? 2 of them obviously you've worked with before.
yeah. So it was not my choice. It at first we were going to be doing the record with Eric again. Matt Good hit me up, and this is after. So that was the plan before Tony and Matt left. Then when Tony and Matt left, Matt Good called me, and you know we're very good friends, and he was like, can I just like say something I think needs to be said, and I want to hear your thoughts, and let's just have a conversation. He was like, look at your biggest songs from your career and the ones that like are actively currently, you know, proving to grow your band. He was like, why am I like this? Misery, Trapped, No Way Out, Searching for Glory, Monomania. He's like, that's half Eric and that's half me. And he's like, and then you have this other side of your band going even further back, you know, like 2012, Hounds of Anubis. But he was like, I think you guys do 3 things very, very well, and you've never pulled it together on one album. He was
Oh,
like,
very
why don't
nice.
you take the best that Eric does, what his thing the best, the thing that I do the best, and then go to someone else and get that other thing that's the best, and then pull those 3 together. So Eric and Matt had input, and I would send them other songs too. Um, and so it feels just like a team effort. You know, I had a lot of love behind me this album, and um, I just felt so supported. And Zach took time off, and when Tony and Matt left, you know, one of the conversations was like the vision of the band, and I told Zach, I'm like, look, the only way that this is going to work us moving forward is if there's a vision. And I was like, I feel like I have one, and I feel like you're going to love it. And so we had a really long talk, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And he was like, I'm going to give you the space to do that. And then let's just see what happens and see where it goes. So as the record was being written, and he came in some for the studio, even though he was taking a break from like the band, he still came into the studio. And he was just like, I love this. Like, this is definitely like where we should be going. And he would do his thing and write his parts or like change certain things. But like the ship was being guided not by like 5 different people. Like, what do I like? It's like, what is the word alive, and what do I want someone to think of when they hear our band name? And I think, you know, and you guys have touched on it over the years, and I think a lot of people have, and a lot of the criticism has been, you know, understood by me at least. Maybe not everything, but you
Give me
know,
an example
the
of
word
criticism
alive.
that you feel you've embraced it, at least like in the spirit of the criticism.
So I think, you know, when I hear someone loving the band and they love eras of the band, I think like someone could be like, I love the word alive, and you would have to be like, which era of the band? You know, there's more fans of specific albums and songs than there are fans of the whole thing. Just like I love it all. There's so much like, you know, almost like segregation within the fan base where it's like there's the Deceiver fans and you see and hear those. There are Life Cycles fans where like that's like their favorite record. Then they're like they love, you know, Dark Matter and the experimentation we were doing on that record. Then you love the like super emotional side and more connected with the melodies and the lyrics of like, let's say, Violent Noise on. Then you have fans who just love it all. That's a lot of like separation there.
Mm-hmm. Like you've divided your own
And
fan base, maybe not even
yes,
intentionally.
yes, and we always wanted to be a band that had a dynamic range. Empire, there's a lot of dynamic range in our opinions. Deceiver, we have You're All I See, We Know Who You Are, Epiphany, Hounds of Anubis, 2012. Those songs are all very different songs to us. Some are like straight up just post-hardcore songs. They're not even metalcore to me. I think like Real and Life Cycles started shifting where some of the songs weren't the best songs. They weren't that well written. And that was because the band was starting to shift and like Zach had his songs, Tony had his songs rather than us coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about it all the time. And we did talk about it all the time for years where it's like, whenever we've been cohesive, the records have done better as a whole. And we can show our diversity, but it feels like one band still. We did that mostly on Dark Matter. I think is a record we did do that right. We did that on Deceiver. We did that on Empire. We didn't do that on Life Cycles. We didn't do it on Real. Violent Noise. We didn't do it. But we talk about it on the records. We didn't do it. We always got at least one song. Like we got Why Am I Like This on Violent Noise, our biggest song. We got Life Cycles on Life Cycles, obviously. You know, you get the point where it's like when we fucked up, we still did something really right that
Mm-hmm.
like got us to the next record. So
So
I
is that how
think,
you envision the next record as being like? So it kind of sounds like a culmination of the Word Alive in a way. Like, okay, here's
yeah,
everything we've done well over the last 10 years. How do you keep that cohesive? Because I feel like what you're kind of telling me is that like there is such a range that you've sort of developed to this band.
yeah.
How do you put an umbrella over all of it so that it makes sense on one album? Is that the vision you were
Uh,
talking about earlier that you were kind of sharing with the
yes.
band?
Yeah. So I basically told Zach, I was like, imagine if Why Am I Like This was on, and I think I said this in a little thing I did for our YouTube, but it really, that was an Easter egg to the album itself. Was it's on our YouTube channel somewhere. It's the first thing we put back. It's like a little video segment, but it's like imagine if Why Am I Like This was on the same record as No Way Out, was on the same record as Trapped, was on the same record as 2012, was on, imagine if all that was on one record, dude, it would be our biggest record, it would be our
Right.
most loved record. And I think fans who might not love one of those songs would still be graciously like approving of it and be like, well, I mean, this record's sick. Like, who cares? And then maybe that one song that they don't like right now would have grown on them had it been in the same spirit of the other songs.
I can see that.
So my goal, like I'm not saying we have a song like Hounds of Anubis on the new record because we don't.
Heavier, I
We
hear you.
def we we do have some heavier parts. We don't have, it's hard because like I think that was like such a specific style of metalcore for the Word Alive that I don't know that it was more on the metal side. We have a couple like really metal and we have definitely the heaviest parts of any record we've ever had on this record that will come out. The difference is I think it's it's more emotionally connected. Like you're going to be in tune with the record song to song in a way that I don't think you have been on any record. Even like Dark Matter, we had like grunge, which was kind of an outlier, and we had outliers. There are no
Mhm.
outliers on this album. There are no songs that pull you out of what we're trying to hone in on, and the lane is definitely there. It's a lot smaller. Like we're not trying to write. There will never be another Lighthouse. There will never be another Runaway. There will never be another grunge. There will never be another sellout. Like there are certain elements of our band that have even done well but aren't, in my opinion, the spirit of what the Word Alive is and who we are as people, who we want to be, the representation we want to have at our shows. It just doesn't represent the band. And not saying we won't ever play, like we'll play Lighthouse on our headliner later this year, but it's because it can just be fun to sing along to it. It's not because we're going to be like hyping it up as like a single ever again or like putting a lot of like spotlight on it. It's just going to be like, hey, this is a big song for our band, and we know that there are a lot of fans who would love to sing it. So I just want to give our fans what I think is the record that we should have made when we made maybe like Real. And I think you'll hear some of Real's elements in this album, which is weird to say because I know it's a very divisive record. But I think it's the parts of Real that we started to touch on that ended up helping make Dark Matter a thing. There's just a lot more intricacy to the songs. The musicianship is like back up to like, you know, it's popping off at times. But I think you have the like sincerity of like, you know, Monomania, and you have the sincerity of the message part of the band, which is what I think really like made the word alive stand out in the first place. Like life cycles, I'd rather die for what I believe. Like that song is not big because it's our heaviest song. It's not even that heavy actually to me,
Mhm.
but it has a salsa dancey like second verse. Like I think it's really the message of the song, and me showcasing more of my range within the heavy side. And I scream more in this record than I have in a long time. And people thought that the word alive wasn't heavy anymore. I didn't scream as much because I didn't like to. That was definitely not the case. And if people would have been seeing us live, like I scream extra live. I love screaming.
Does it
You
annoy
know,
you
it's
how
just
much metalcore fans can get in your head for the entirety of your life when it comes to how heavy your band is?
I just wish I could have like a sit down campfire meeting with every fan that's ever been a fan of the word alive and just be like, guys, listen, let me clear some things up. And then I think, you know, I think perspective is everything. And I think a lot of people just don't understand some of the things that the band have done and reasons or choices why. Some have been label things, some have been internal, some have been like, because we were fucking gassed and we were
Self-fulfilling
uninspired.
prophecy
And
though, right? Because like if you don't tell us, how do we know, kind of thing, you know?
yeah, I think, you know, for me now, I'm trying to tell that story. You know, I'm trying to be open, and I love, you know, interacting with you guys, and I think like we're kind of, I'm not gonna say we're ever gonna be accepted by our metalcore ever again, but
It's fine.
it
It's
it's
fine. They
funny.
have so many other bands. It's fine.
Yeah, but to me, all I care about is like what the word alive actually is and means, and accepting like, yeah, like I hear you. The reason we didn't play maybe this style of music you want is honestly the songs weren't good enough that were being written in that style. Like I'll be honest, they I didn't want some songs to sound like they were an Architects B ripoff. The scene has enough of that. um
It does. It
like
does.
and some of our songs were uninspiredly being written for our heavier spectrum. And I don't want to throw anyone under the bus for songwriting. I just think like we had kind of lost our way and we couldn't get back to it as a team. So it took us falling apart to be able to build it back together to be what I think is a unique record again. I don't think our new record will make you feel like you're listening to another band. Obviously it's impossible to not have, you know, oh, this kind of reminds me of, it's just gonna happen, but I think you'll hear that like the uniqueness of the word alive is back because the heavy part of our band is back. It's just not back trying to like keep up with what's happening right now or like trying to sound like something that you can tell someone was listening to and it got stuck in their head. Like, and we have, dude, I could show you so many demos, and if you guys come out to the show, I'll show you some stuff. But
What is
it's
this
like you
blackmail?
you would know you would know what I mean though. You would hear a song and be like, I know why you put out like Searching for Glory instead of this. Like I would
Mhm.
rather sound heartfelt and like genuinely passionate about like what the message is than to put out a heavy song just to please fans, knowing that to me it was uninspired. And that's the truth of why we shifted away from some of our heavier quote unquote roots is the songs just weren't good enough. They did not compete with the heavy songs of our past, and they did not compete with even like Trapped or whatever, you know, more currently. And that's it.
So you're
I would
saying like
rather
you
have a
can turn
song
the
that message
switch
wise.
on whenever, right? It's a matter of whether or not it's genuine.
Yeah, I think like a huge part for our band is I never wanted us to feel like a watered down version of our old selves. I'd rather give you something entirely new and different and just like maybe you find something new to love within our band than to put out something that feels like yeah, like a B-side of any of our past records, but not in a good way. Not like, damn, this could have been on this record, but like yeah, I can see why this didn't make the record. I just didn't want to put out those songs, and that's the truth of it.
That's
So.
fair. So it sounds like you're in the right headspace.
That's real quick before moving on to the next question. Honestly, Telly, that feels like the most fleshed out answer any fan has ever gotten about what the next album is going to sound like. So, you know, I think your intention to start a campfire and sit everyone down, I feel like you've potentially achieved that.
Well, I love it. You guys are the fire, so thank you for setting this up.
I'd like to think we're more the gasoline, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys you're hot. You're on fire right now. I love it.
It's very sweet of you, Telle.
I do. My phone is about to die, so I don't have
I was
going to
say we have kept you for so long, so we're going to let you go. We just want to know real quick what the state of the scene is before you go, because that's how we end interviews.
Let's just say there's going to be a lot of people coming up, and I feel a resurgence of the scene. I feel this like down in my plums.
Right.
I feel you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put you guys in Plum Island. Let's just say that.
I don't know if I want to be there.
Oh my God, you guys just gave me the best idea. Okay, I'm gonna put you in an episode. I already know what I'm gonna do.
It's good. Yeah, go ahead and make Bride Stars my mortal enemy if you don't mind.
Okay, now I have another idea to even top the one I just had. Okay, I got you.
Oh, thank you, Telle. We really appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Have a safe tour.
Bye.
Later.